What's going on YouTube? Tom here, and we're back with another video today. This is one that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally getting around to it. Basically, we're going to be discussing today if the Benchmade Griptilian is still a viable EDC option in 2019. This knife has been around and has been an EDC staple since its 2003 release, and it still exists today, which is incredible considering today's market with all these knives being discontinued and then new models being brought out. The Griptilian has been a mainstay. So let's talk a little bit about this. The Griptilian design from its original release in 2003 still stands today. It's still a very, very utilitarian design. It still looks like a lot of knives today. That's more than what a lot of knives can say. If you go back and look at some of like the older Benchmade and Spyderco catalogs, some of those knives, if they were brought out today, would look super outdated and old. The Griptilian still looks like it belongs in 2019. It's a very, very modern looking knife, considering that it was released 16 years ago. It's overall a good size and shape for EDC, and I'm talking about the large Griptilian here, but this can also apply for anything I'm talking about here. It can apply for the small as well. It just depends on what your size preference is. But for the large Griptilian, I think it's a good shape and size for EDC. Unfortunately, recently there's been a lot of competition for the Griptilian. Back in 03 when it was released, it was it and maybe a couple other knives. I don't know. I wasn't really into knives at that point. It and a couple other knives are probably the standouts in that price category, that price range, and that's why Benchmade sold a bunch of them. Nowadays, there's a lot of competition, including even in Benchmade's own line. Recently, Benchmade released the Bug Out, which is a similar size to the large and small. It comes in right in the middle. It's a lighter weight knife. It's thinner, easier to carry. Comes stock with a deep carry clip, has S30V steel on it, and overall is a very compelling option compared to the Griptilian. That's coming in right at about $115 or so, $120. They also released the Freak actually a little bit before the Bug Out, and the Freak was almost what it looked like was going to be the Griptilian replacement. It had that like VersaFlex handle material, that rubbery material. Very similar shape to the Griptilian, and actually it's very similar to the Ritter Griptilian that they had a couple years prior. I thought that might be the death of the Freak, or the death of the Griptilian. That was honestly, that was actually one of my first videos on my channel here, as it relates to knives, was with the Freak and the Griptilian. They also recently unveiled the Bailout, which is a more direct competition to the Griptilian. I think it's a little bit bigger size, similar length, much more lightweight, and technically an upgraded steel. If you guys have been following any of the drama on Benchmade 3V, you know what I'm talking about. But on paper, it should be a better steel for everyday use, depending on your uses. Not only is there competition in Benchmade's own line, but there's other companies that have a lot of knives out at this price point now. This budget or mid-tier price point has been a very crowded market here in the past couple of years. Just from Spyderco, they have the PM2, the Para 3, the Manix 2, and the Native, all pretty much in this price category, as well as some smaller knives like the Chaparral and others. The ZDP Delica comes to mind too, right in that same price range. Those are just two brands that, I mean, they have a lot of knives just in that price category that are directly competing with the Griptilian. Not to mention all the other brands that are out there nowadays. There's so many. If you go on Blade HQ or Knife Center or anything like that and just click on brands, the amount of brands that are out there now is incredible. So this price point is very saturated, and despite that, the Griptilian remains a very popular seller. It's not as popular as it once was, but it's on page 4 of Blade HQ's most popular right now. And I've seen it higher, and that fluctuates, depending on the week. But page 4 is still pretty darn high for this old of a knife. I didn't see any other knives on there except for maybe the PM2 that were around the same age, and actually the PM2 is quite a bit newer, that have been around for that long and are still that popular. So with that, the Griptilian has a whole bunch of options to spice things up to, depending on what you like. There's 3 different blade types. There's the drop point, there's the sheep's foot like we have here, and the Tonto. So you have 3 different blade shapes. You have all of those in plain edge or partially serrated. You have 2 different handle materials. You have the polymer, like you guys see here, this what they call Noril GTX, just a fancy name for plastic, or G10. The G10 model was unveiled a couple of years back, 6 or 7 years ago now, I think, and that's a little bit pricier as well. That competes with some of the more higher end knives in like $170-ish price range nowadays. On top of that, they have a bunch of different colors, not in the G10, but in the polymer handles like you see here. They have like 8 or 9 different color options, and they have something for everybody, it seems. On top of that, they also have different steel options. So up until this year, the Griptilian was only offered in 154 cm. And I think that was kind of hurting Benchmade's sales on the Griptilian as far as it goes in 2018, 2019, just recently, where more knives were coming out in better steels at the same price point or even less. So Benchmade decided to upgrade this to S30V, and that keeps that pretty much relevant right now. $110 for S30V in a knife of this caliber with Benchmade's warranty is pretty darn solid. And on top of that, if you guys don't like S30V, they do have a custom shop where they offer 154 cm S30V D2, 20 CV, which is the standard steel on the G10 model, and also M4. This one right here is an M4. Benchmade does all of those steels extremely well. They only work with a few steels, unlike companies like Spyderco that work with a bunch. And the ones that they do work with, they tend to have their heat treat dialed in pretty well. I've had excellent results with their M4, as you guys have seen through the cut test videos, somewhere in the 350-ish feet ballpark for M4. That's pretty darn solid, and I would definitely be happy with that as an everyday carry steel. Another thing that the Griptilian has going for it is the axis lock. Although Benchmade has integrated this on just about every knife that they make now, the axis lock back in 03, or actually I think it was 01 when it was introduced, or actually it might have been earlier than that, was a breakthrough design. Basically you have these 2 pins here on either side. I won't go too in depth with it, but you have a bar that runs across here that locks it up, and because of that you can basically make it free dropping. It's easy to use, one-handed use. It's an excellent lock, and it's extremely strong. But the axis lock, for the people nowadays that find this stuff important, has that fidget factor. I'm not one that really is looking for that in a knife per se, but the Griptilian does have that, and it's a very smooth knife. It runs on phosphor bronze washers, and although they may not be the smoothest when you first get it, they do break in excellent and become nice, glassy, smooth, drop shot, no blade play if you're lucky. And overall, it's just a very enjoyable knife to open and close. It does have one thing I think is kind of a deterrent for it. The handle's a bit thicker than others. So if you guys look here, compared to, like, let's say my Native 5 lightweight, which isn't necessarily a thin knife, but the Griptilian is pretty darn thick. The Griptilian handle width, or handle thickness, is about 0.64 inches, which is pretty darn thick. If you're carrying this in your pocket, you're going to know that you have it as far as the size goes. The Mini is quite a bit smaller. Even at this size, though, it's still decently lightweight. It has partial liners that run a good chunk of the way down till about right here or so, just past this screw. And, that gives you some rigidity, but it also adds some weight. This thing is 3.88 ounces. For a 3.5-inch knife, not too bad. That's about, par for the course these days. It does have good blade thickness as well. It's 0.115 inches. For me personally, I like something under 0.12, and that does, keep it in that range for me. Um, so it has good blade thickness, but it has pretty poor behind the edge thickness. I think it kind of depends on the model that you get, but the drop point blue one that you guys saw here on the channel some time ago was extremely thick behind the edge after I sharpened it to 18 degrees per side. That came in at about 27 thousandths behind the edge, which is pretty darn thick. It's still cut really well though, but that is something to keep in mind. So that brings us to my conclusion here. With all these options and everything, in a saturated market, the Griptilian is still an all-star for the price. For $110, it's hard to find a knife that's built this well, can take this abuse, and have that warranty. It has variations for everybody, so you can find a flavor that you like. It's a hard worker that's easy to carry and is built to last for decades. Combine all those features with Benchmade's warranty and blade replacement program, and you could have a lifetime knife for $110. This is it's an excellent EDC option, and I think it being an excellent EDC option 16 years after its release is a testament to how well it was designed and how Benchmade has continued to evolve it as time goes on. If you guys have not checked out one of these knives, you definitely should. I've had 3 at this point. They tend not to stick around because I'm into the higher end stuff, but the Griptilian is excellent. And if it's something that you're considering, I definitely recommend that you check it out and give it a shot for your everyday carry. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with me. I feel like this is a knife that everyone has pretty much had at this point or should have, and there should be a lot of opinions on it, and I'd like to hear those. So make sure to comment down below and drop me a like if you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.